Get your birth certificate and lift it up and you'll see GRO. It's a General Register Office. That's who you're registering it to. Registration and your children. And this is not funny. This is really, really true. Okay? To this day, registration still means the same thing. You hand over or you transfer the legal title to the body you have registered it with. As you have seen, the worst possible way this has been done is by the birth certificate. It's been abused. A simple show of this is to, do you have to mandatory school your children? Well, you do. And can you take them on holiday when you want to? No. Because what happens when you take them out at term time? I know people have received £100 fines for taking their kids out at term time, taking them on holiday. And they have to be vaccinated. The thing is, it's their property. You signed over title ownership of that child to the government when you registered it. You've got no claim to your children whatsoever. You just don't know it because you've been duped. If you want proof of it, the social services. What happens when you don't look after their property or they pertain you're not looking after their property properly? Linda Lewis, Baby P. What happens? They take the child away. Well, what you'll notice is it says Social Services PLC, because it is a PLC. And a PLC is a publicly limited company that has shareholders, and shareholders need profits. And where do they get profit from? Stealing children.
Authorities are taking children away from their families for the most extraordinary reasons. I'll give you an example, and like I say, this is not rare. We had a case in Britain recently where these parents spent £38,000 on fertility treatment to have a child. When the child was born, soon after the child came home from the hospital, a social worker came round and the mother just joked that giving birth had ruined her figure. On the basis of that, the child was taken away. And we're seeing extraordinary examples of the so-called justification for taking children and the state taking control of them. And what then happens, and happens in this case, is the social services say to them, okay, we're taking your child away, we're going to give it to foster parents of our choice. Now you have a choice. You can either accept this, in which case you might see your children on, access time here and there, or you can challenge this decision, in which case you'll never see your children again. And the decisions are then made in secret family courts, which are not allowed to be reported by the media, where a single judge is making the decisions. And, if you describe this society to people a few years ago, you'd say, you've got to be talking about China, mate, haven't you?
On the screen, there's a little baby. Little lady came into my life about 4.5 years ago. 2 days after the birth of Elizabeth, ministry workers came in, removed her, no investigation, no assessment, claimed she only had one caregiver. We said, you're wrong, we're a family, we're going to meet you in court. They told us if we tried doing that, they'd see to it. She spent the first 5 years of her life going from foster home to foster home to foster home. Shut me up in court, cost me my baby. Folks, anyone who knows me, shutting me up even for a moment is a bit of a trick. They cost me my baby. I sat down with their Black's Law Dictionary on one side, Bouvier's on the other, I had an Old English dictionary. I looked up every single word in there. It took me 3 days, nothing but toast and tea and a couple of tokes. Took me 3 days and I finally saw it. Have you ever seen these laser pictures? You see nothing until you focus past it, and then a 3D picture pops into your head. Have you seen those? This is exactly what I saw when I did my statute deconstruction. I looked through and I suddenly saw what they were doing. This is their little trick. You are not obliged to register your children. If you do, it is at that point that you're creating a legal entity or a person. You are associating this person with your offspring. You are abandoning ownership or title to that person. And The government is seizing that under the laws of maritime salvage. It becomes their chattel property. They use it as collateral to float loans or to float bonds for loans.
Woodrow Wilson, as you may know, for any of you who have done any research into the Federal Reserve, the central bankers, and the fiat currency system that we've been enslaved into, you'll know that Woodrow Wilson is the president who signed into law the Federal Reserve Act. And you may already know that the Federal Reserve is a private corporation. It's not federal, it has no reserves, it's a private corporation owned by offshore bankers. There was a man named Edward Mandell House, and he was Woodrow Wilson's handler. House was an Englishman. Actually, the Earl of Grey was his handler. Anyways, they had to put the Federal Reserve Act through in 1913 before the United States could enter into the First World War. The bankers wanted to fund America, incur debt and interest, and so they had to foment a condition whereby the United States would enter the First World War. But first they had to have the Federal Reserve Act through. So they ran that through in 1913. Now the official reason why the United States entered the First World War was the sinking of the Lusitania. You just need to watch The Money Masters by William Still and you'll find out the history of all this. The sinking of the Lusitania was orchestrated by Mandell House. He's not a nice guy. And by operation of the law merchant under the scheme of secured transactions, Americans, by unknowingly or unwittingly delivering the bills of lading to us, will be rendered bankrupt and insolvent, forever to remain economic slaves through taxation, secured by their pledges. The birth certificate. To this fraud, which we will call social insurance. Without realizing it, every American will insure us for any loss we may incur in this manner. Every American will unknowingly be our servant. However,
Court rulings from the Supreme Court of Canada. In a free and just society, this might be acceptable, Ask yourself this. What's the name of your society? Do you have one? There's a maximum law that says, if you know not the name of a thing, all knowledge of that thing must perish. If someone tells you, I'm going to my best friend's house, and you say, really? What's your best friend's name? And they go, do they even have a best friend? Believe it or not, any member of a society, every member of a particular society will all do the exact same thing if you ask them the right question. If you ask them, what is the name of your society? Every member of that society will say the exact same thing. Societies have names. In British Columbia, it's the Society of Notary Publics of British Columbia, the Law Society of British Columbia. If you are a member of a society, you will have a card. Your picture will be on it. It will have evidence that you've been paying your dues, and you will be able to tell me the name of your society. Now, if you can't even tell me the name of your society, and you know a statute is a legislated rule of a society which has been given the force of law, and you don't have a society, why do these acts have any force of law over you? And you can do this by taking an existing language, let's call it English, and you can change just a few words, not tell anyone else how those words have been changed, and guess what? You've got an entirely new language that appears to be English, but it's not, and only they know it.
So what is legalese? It's a language that can be created by any society. Corporation can be such a society. Legalese is such a language. In English, it is English, but some words have very, very different meanings. Example, Legalese is the language of their law society. Check it out for yourself. One of the things I was going to say before I come on and I forgot is to say to you, do not take a word I'm saying as being the truth. Don't. Go and look at this stuff yourself, because that's the only way that you will suddenly realise what's going on. The truth is only the truth when you know, when you realise it. I can tell you all afternoon long, but until you realise it, it's meaningless. It's down to you to realise this. The examples, must is synonymous with the word may. When someone says to you from a corporation, you must, they're actually giving you a choice because they can't force you. They're not allowed to, because it's not law. It's only policy. Summons is synonymous with invitation. When you get a summons from a court of supposedly law, you actually are being invited to a corporate place of business to discuss how much money you're going to give that corporate place of business. And you won't get an 8 for it either. Understand is synonymous with stand under. If I say to you, do you understand? And you say yes, that means you stand under me, which means you've given me authority over you. It's as simple as that. It's so simple. But this is a language you don't know. You don't know you've been spoken to by this language. A policeman, a human being, his duty under common law of this land is to serve and protect every individual in this land. You've heard Albert say this today. That is his duty. That is what he does his job for, to serve and protect and never, ever delay right or justice to any individual in this land. That's their job. They must uphold the common law, but they have a fiction attached to them called a police officer. Now, if you look at the word officer, it comes from the corporate world. What's a CEO? Chief Executive Officer. It's all officers. They're unbelievable. This man on my right is who enforces statutes on you. This man protects you. But the trouble is, the boys in blue, who I've got all the admiration in the world for, because I've got a lot of friends in the police force, don't know the difference. They don't know the difference anymore. And some of them didn't know the difference in the first place, because they're being told wrong. They're not being told about this bit, they're only being told about this bit. And funny enough, I had a conversation with Albert the other day, and he was telling me some things that are going on in the police force regarding their training at the moment. And all of them are being trained to be this. I want you to watch this little video, and the man who made this video is actually up there.
Put the camera down for us. What?
Can I help you?
Put the camera down for us.
Whoa. I'm in my own garden here, mate.
Okay.
What, you come bursting down?
Filming the police.
It's not an offence at all.
It is, sir.
No, it's not an offence at all. No, I'm a filmmaker, mate. I know the laws. I've been doing this for years, mate. I film the police all the time. It's not an offence.
Okay. We're telling you.
What section is it an offence under?
Okay. It's an offence, sir.
What section is it an offence under?
I'll find out for you. Can you switch the camera off?
No, I can't switch my camera off. I'm not doing nothing wrong. I'm in my own garden. You've come round our path. I do this all the time, mate.
It's okay, sir. Get this in order as well.
Get the mobile phone, the solicitor. Mate, this is a free country. You're entitled by law, yeah?
So, just quickly, we've just done a stop check on the Wiltshire Farm. There's a gentleman here that's filming us.
Yeah, he's in his own garden, minding his own business, and the police have just come over here intruding on my privacy, my liberty, my freedom. It's not illegal. I do this all the time. I film the police all the time down here. I film the inspector at the meetings, mate. I think you've got it wrong.
What's your name? Sorry, sir.
I think you've got it wrong, right? And you know what you ought to do, mate? Do you know what you ought to do? If you don't like me filming you, you do what I do. You go to see the MPs, yeah, and get them to bring it up in Parliament so they can change the laws. But don't come and harassing me over it. It doesn't matter who I am, mate, you know.
You're number 58.
You know. I'm not doing anything wrong at all, mate. Nothing wrong at all. You just took it on your own head to come over and harass me. You know. This is England, mate. You know.
Yeah, it's from 58. So.
This isn't communist China. You know that, mate, don't you? I think it's terrible what you're doing here. Yeah, it's not an offence, mate, see? The camera will pick that up better than your ears. I said the camera will pick it up better than his ears.
Pick what up?
It doesn't matter.
What do you mean, pick what up?
It doesn't matter, you're just trying to make an issue here and I'm not biting for you. I'm not doing anything wrong.
What did you say?
I'm not doing anything wrong.
What have you just said to that?
It doesn't matter, I'm not doing anything wrong. I haven't done anything wrong. What are you trying to make an issue for? I've not broken no laws. You come over here harassing us, mate. Thank you. Have a nice day.
What you saw there in that video was two police officers trying to get a man to give his name and his address. Because in the world of a police officer, they can only act on you if you contract with them, because it's the world of contracts. Remember, the statutory instrument is a legally created contract. So they're contracts. He needs you to give your name and your address because he needs to act on your person, not the man or the woman. Darren, who would admit it as well, he stood up there, didn't actually know what he was doing at that time, and he's laughing his head off because he didn't. But the point is, this is natural, it's inherent, it's already in you. You've just been conditioned to not know it. That's all that's happened. When Darren wouldn't conform, what did the lady officer try and do? She tried to pick a spoil with him over any issue she possibly could find to try and enforce a statute. Now that is not a policeman or woman. That is not upholding the law of this land, the real law of this land. Okay, that is a corporate enforcement policy agent. So you now understand there is a big difference between the two, a massive difference.
What can I do for you?
Huh?
What can I do for you?
I just need, have you got an ID or anything?
You got any ID on you?
I don't.
But do you understand why you shouldn't stop and just randomly ask for people's ID? This is America, bro.
Stop walking. What's your name?
I don't feel I have to give it to you if I haven't done anything wrong.
Well, I'm asking you for your name.
All I'm wanting is an ID.
I can't do that unless you have a lawful reason to ask me.
Okay, if an officer is law asks you for your name, you're supposed to provide that to you. Okay?
Not if I haven't done anything wrong, sir.
Every day we get stopped. Every day we get ID'd. You can't go anywhere in America anymore without your papers.
Why?
Death for East Carson County. You guys got ID on you?
The corporate employees must get a man or a woman to represent the person before a contract can be formed. That's absolutely true. They will ask you your name, they'll ask you your address. When they get your address, they've got joinder. Because there could be 100,000 John Harrises in England. They need that address to get joinder, so they can prove who you are. The second you do that, the human being has said, yes, I'm the person. Whenever you're stopped by one of these individuals, ask them this: am I obliged to ask you your questions? Because they won't know what the word obliged means. They won't know what it means. And it's a choice. It's a choice. And then ask them under what authority and under what law are you acting? The reason being is because if they say to you, it's under this law, and then they suddenly say, and that you prove it's a statute, an act of parliament, that says it in itself, an act. Parliament, that's all it is. It's theatre, it's an act. Shakespeare said it, the world's a stage, and we're all acting. Absolutely true. But when you say to these people, you can actually say this, and this is absolute fact, because I'm just about to do this to the Chief Constable of Devon and Cornwall Police. Failure to differentiate between a statute and a law is gross negligence that's equivalent to the common law crime of fraud. They're committing fraud. They've committed fraud on you from the day you were born. This applies to anyone who is trying to enforce these statutes. This is what I entered into. And it's called lawful rebellion. It's actually wrote in Magna Carta 1215. It's Article 61. Now, I know a lot about Magna Carta now, and I know that Magna Carta certainly wasn't right for us. And we can't use it. We can't use it. But we can use the method of lawful rebellion, because lawful rebellion says, and what Article 61 actually says, it says lawfully hinder, and it says you must never ever use violence. We can't sort this out with violence. Because if we sort this out with violence, violence will always ensue.
I'll get back to you. He's also stated that I'm under obligation to carry photo ID, which I'm obviously not. That's the officer right there, car 77. So hopefully, yeah. There we go, car 77. Officer did not state who he was. There's another police officer showing up. I've already informed the officers of my rights, this and that. Cold. Officer, I just want to let you know I'm activating my fee schedule. It's the middle of winter. I am cold right now, and you're harassing me right now. So my fee schedule will be activated in 3 minutes. I suggest you contact a superior officer. Read that affidavit of truth.
We're reading that right now, sir. We're trying to get...
I know, I'm just freezing cold. I'm freezing cold, so... For the record, I also informed the officer I was operating under protest and duress.
Hey, all those documents come back.
Perfect. Here you go, Joshua. So, you don't have a driver's license, correct?
No.
And no insurance, correct? Do you have insurance?
No. I'm working on that right now, doing it through, it's not a registered motor vehicle, right? So it's not under you guys' jurisdiction. I'm not trying to cause trouble or nothing, but I am getting insurance on it, but it's through my society that I'm part of.
Okay, perfect.
So I don't, obviously, like, I only use it to travel around and get my girlfriend.
You are dealing with a human being. They are just human beings. They'll tell you I'm an agent for the government, I'm a peace officer, I'm this, I'm that. No, you are a human being in a common law jurisdiction, and that's all there is to it. That's first and foremost, and I'm not forgetting that. If you remember that, they have to remember that. The key thing about remembering this is you can remember a couple of things. Yes, you can affect them. You can use, they will respond to emotion, they will respond to threats, they'll respond to a baseball bat in the bottom of their knee. They will respond. They will also respond to love, compassion, and truth. They are human beings, and if you treat them with the dignity that all human beings are worthy of, they will respond as a human being as well.
Are you recording me right now?
Yes.
Are you trying to make us point?
No, it's for my protection.
Oh, this is not a third world nation. I'm a retired Marine too. Of course you can.
Protecting my rights, sir.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. If you're a police officer, what do you want to do? Make sure it's safe, right?
Correct.
You're lawful, you did what you're supposed to do. Can I see some identification to verify who you are?
I have any on me.
You have none on you?
No.
Okay, let me just take your name down. You haven't got anything else on here, right?
I'm not required to provide my information.
Well, you're required to identify who you are. You don't have to show identification. You can do it verbally. Can you do that? You You can't do that at all?
No.
Okay.
There's not a stock 90 stature.
What's your last name, Jeremy? Huh?
I'm not going to tell you my last name.
Okay. You're not going to load up, right, while you're walking down the street?
No.
Okay. Well, it should look good on YouTube either way.
Elite's predecessors, designing and running the show for each generation. The elite, in fact, are simply moving their system into a new system, an updated system to suit themselves. That's a hard concept for people to grasp. They've been trained to believe things are happening at the moment by happenstance, by crisis coming out of nowhere. And here's what we must do. We must solve this problem at the time. Nothing is further from the truth.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Why don't we learn from the mistakes of our ancestors? Why does humankind find itself bound in a cycle of bloodshed and enslavement?
If we look now at the speed at which this police state is being imposed and this political centralization is being imposed, then forget the speed it's been imposed in up to this point, fast as it's been since 9/11, because the more power they centralize and therefore have in their hands, the quicker they can introduce this police state. So we're going to see it getting faster and faster until humanity wakes up and starts to decide he wants to take a different course. Because if it doesn't, if we sit on our backsides and watch the latest soap and watch the news and believe what we're told, if we go on in that dream world, then we are going to live in a world envisaged and described by Orwell, basically.
If the New World Order
within 10
succeeds,
years.
you're looking at an invincible police state. You're looking at a brainwashed population with brainwashed secret police who literally just press on the nerve of power, as George Orwell said, and we're looking at a boot stomping on a human face forever.
If you want a vision of the future, for instance, imagine a boot stamping on a human face.
Sooner or later, you got to draw a line and stand your ground, whether anybody else does or not.